Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever it may be for you. Hi there. I'm Dave Wilber, and my friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. And I'm here, and I'm live, and I love this. I love it, man. I do, I love it. It looks like we have a great internet connection this morning. I recently fixed up my internet, and it's way better. And yeah, things seem to be kind of rolling here. Wow, I'm happy. I'd stop moving my desk. All right. Wow, look at this. Okay, well, hey, look, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm glad that you're here too. And haven't done a live feed for a little bit, and that's okay, because I said early on that I wasn't gonna do it just because. I was gonna do it because I needed, because I had something to say, because I was whatever, right? And what am I rolling for music here? I don't even know. Because I always talk about it, I have to do the copyright-free music thing, and shoot, you never know what's actually gonna show up in this thing. Here we can do. There we go. Is this better? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, it's not my stuff, and it's not stuff I like necessarily. And although my music, I guess, isn't technically copyrighted, but I also don't want it to be stolen. I don't know if that makes any sense. But the stuff that I produce here in the Wilberforce studio is not ready for prime time anyway. So there's that. So what have I been up to? What have you been up to? What have I been up to? The exciting event of last week for me was the Rocky Mountain Golf Course Superintendents Association had their annual conference, and so many things to talk about with that. So many things to talk about with that. But the cool part is, first of all, that they even had it, right? Because we didn't do one in 2020. Just decided to just cancel the whole thing based on the COVID situation and not knowing what was what, and not knowing what was up with the conference facility, the hotel and stuff. And by the way, while I'm thinking about it, the Denver West Marriott, which has been our host hotel for the last little bit, they were exceptional in handling us, at least as far as everything I know. They just did a great job. So we had 200 plus people, and I've been on the committee, and that's been really good. And Steve Sorrow from Pinehurst Country Club, Pinehurst in Denver, heads up that committee. But it's a bunch of the board members and a bunch of the interested parties, and they're just good people. And the Rocky Mountain group has always been, my home, right? It's always been the group that, it's been the group that I've been a member of the longest. And even while I was in Northern California, I still, the Rocky Mountain had my heart, right? So it's good to be back in Colorado for many reasons, but surely it's good to be back around the Rocky Mountain Golf Course Superintendents Association. Exceptional people, right? And so we had to make the really hard choice to cancel last year's event, and the annual conference has been really quite a good thing for so many reasons, And so I get excited. I get excited to do educational things, and I've always loved, the whole small regional conference deal. I've always loved it. And so anyway, we had I'm just looking at a technical thing here while seems like my internet connection may have just died. I don't know. I don't know. Hold on. We're gonna figure it out real quick. Oh, we seem to be doing okay. Yeah, it's here. Okay, good. All right, great. I think I felt like it dropped out for just a second, but now it's all back. So if you had a little hitch. So anyway, Rocky Mountain Conference was last week, Tuesday and Wednesday. And God, we had this stellar lineup of speakers, anchored by Tyler Bloom. Tyler Bloom Consulting. Tyler is the guy who was the golf course superintendent who is now doing labor and, working in the world of staffing and staff development and all that sort of stuff. And Tyler's just such a good guy. And while Tyler and I had met face to face, we have had a good relationship, and he's just been one of those cool people. And he's reached out to me about, a few things here and there. And I love the guy, and I really do. And so it was great to get to meet him in person, excuse me. And then Miranda Robinson. Oh, Robinson, man. Made the effort to come from British Columbia and came and speak to the Rocky Mountain Group, came as a speaker to the Rocky Mountain Group and spoke, and she spoke eloquently on anxiety and mindfulness. And she also spoke on building an inclusive workplace and women in golf, women in turfgrass, and man, what a powerful human. I mean, she's 5 foot whatever, and I probably outweigh her times 4, right? And it's just a powerful human. And I got the chance to hang out with Miranda a little bit as she was in town. She actually did this cool thing where she went to the Excel leadership thing in Kansas at Lawrence, at GCSAA, and then came here. And so we had a little bit of time to kind of, knock around Denver a little bit. And, she went up to the mountains to visit Carrie Hoffner up in Vail, and it just all worked out really good. Right. Just again, somebody that I had not met in person. Somehow we missed each other a few years back in San Diego, and I wasn't feeling good then, so that wasn't good. But anyway, we had this great, kind of like, how do I put it, brother sister kind of thing, right? Like if I had a younger sister, it would be Mo Robinson. But she's such a badass, man. I mean, it's just a great, amazing thing. So you have these two badass people, right? Because Tyler Bloom's a badass too. I mean, he really is. We have these two great people together. And then we had Dr. Carl Dannenberger speak, and Dr. Dannenberger came in via Zoom, and we were a little bit worried about how that was going to go, but it actually went fine. And, I know that's hard, like having done the Zoom speaking thing, like that's hard. It really is. It's hard. And you don't get a lot of feedback as a speaker, and it's a little ouchy, right? I don't know how to put it. It's ouchy. Like, I'm going to do this talk, but I don't know how to do this talk. And yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of, I mean, you don't want to say, no, we're not going to do that. But at the same time, it's like, well, how do we do this the very best? How do we put people at ease about having the technology ruling the moment, right? And I think part of that is just the experience of the speaker, and Dr. Dannenberger is a very experienced speaker, so that works. And so that was great. He talked extensively about winter injury and especially desiccation and all that sort of stuff, which is amazing. And then he gave his Growing Degree Day presentation, which if you've never seen, heard, or seen any of his material on the whole, Growing Degree Day calculation, where that all comes from, you should see that. You really should. That's just how it goes. You should see that. You should avail yourself of the concept of growing degree days in some fashion, right? So that's what that's all about. I'm moving things from screen to screen here because I don't like how it looks. And it's like, okay, so we're doing great with this Rocky Mountain Conference, and things are just going well, and the committee's doing great, and Gary Leeper, the executive secretary, doing great, and everything working good. Like no hassles, nothing. Everybody happy to be together. And it was just, for me, it was just a magic moment. I'm like, I just want to be part of something magic, and I want to do something in person, and I'm not going to talk about COVID and social distancing and any of that stuff right now. Just not, I'm not. I'm going to just say simply that turf heads need to get together. And I was fortunate enough to MC the thing, and that's a joy for me. And I just do it, and I love it. Panel discussions can be a weak moment in conferences, but we actually had a really good one. We put Miranda and Tyler on stage, and then we got Pam Smith from the city of Denver, who runs the city of Denver golf operations, and Joe McCleary, who's with the Colorado Golf Association and an ex-superintendent, and just a fantastic guy. And we put them on stage, and I grilled, I put some pretty tough questions out there to them, and it was good. Yeah, it was good until the fire alarm went off. I don't know what was up with that. I can't figure it out. Hey, I just want to remind you guys that the chat is open this morning, and I love it. I love that you're quiet and stuff, and I know a lot of you are listening while you're out on the golf course or whatever, but please feel free to hang something out in the chat. If you have a question, anything, comment. Just want to say something smart, stupid, whatever. That's fine. So yeah, we just had like a really, God, I keep using the word badass, but it was just a badass time, Like, look at this, man. Look how good that is. Makes me happy. Excited to get out to San Diego this year. Yeah, I think in person is going to be a good thing. And again, I'm not going to get into the COVID thing. Mark, thank you for that comment. Thank you for first chatter award goes to. Where the hell did this go? Oh, I was just looking at my notes here. I'm not feeling super organized today. Anyway, we really, I don't know, just freaking glad that we did good. We put people together. I'm just so, how do I put it? Like, isn't it about time that, some things return to normal? If that makes any sense or not. But I just wish, that some things would return to normal, I guess, is how to put it. And I'm just happy when it does, actually. And, yeah, that makes any sense at all. And I think the overall idea, that I love virtual things, and I like this medium, I love this, right? I really do. In a weird sort of way, it's just, a really good thing. However, there's no substitute for the, sorry, I was just adjusting some color if you're seeing that. There's no substitute for, the in-person face-to-face stuff, right? So I'm very pro regional Turfgrass conference. I really don't want to, I can't possibly lump the national into that. I'm very pro regional Turfgrass conference. I'm very pro making sure that when you do a regional Turfgrass conference, you leave enough time for people to interact and mill about and all that sort of stuff. And I gotta say, blowing the Rocky Mountain's horn, we just do it heck of a good job with that. And there's vendor tables and stuff outside the room. So if you're one of those people that can't sit there, you're good. You can go out and visit with the vendors, visit with each other. It's a really fantastic thing. Sponsors and vendors are needed, and these things are not going to happen without it. I mean, especially if we're going to talk about travel expenses and all that sort of stuff. The people are just they're going to come. They're going to come to this stuff, and we're going to have to take care of speakers. We're going to have to, make sure that we take care of their travel arrangements really well and pay them some honorarium. And I mean, that's just how it works these days. And so sponsorship is important. And I never thought I'd hear myself saying that. I never thought I'd hear myself saying that. Because, I don't know. I mean, does that make sense? It's like, once upon a time, I think I didn't want commercial money. I didn't want commercial money involved with Golf Course Superintendents Association stuff. I didn't want to be beholden to them, I mean, that was how do I put it? I thought it was a way for them to kind of get things that they wanted that we were not able to deliver. How about that? It's a really great way to say that. It's like, well, we want this and we want you guys to do that, and we want to have an equipment field day. I remember trying to work out an equipment field day around an association event, and it's like, hi guys, I don't know, yes, the iron guys could bring mowers, and the fertilizer people, what do they bring? Bags of fertilizer. Like it's unbalanced, right? Okay. So that's what that's all about. And I, again, have had very strong opinions about commercial involvement in many parts of, our association, especially our small associations. I've also had many opinions about commercial involvement in in tons of things. So, and I've been let's not forget that I've been, although I'm not a big deal, I've been a commercial person for a long time, right? I mean, I've been a golf course superintendent since 1992. And whether I was, solo or during the years that I was working with Sierra Pacific Turf Supply, my fantastic friends there, Don Nauman, Dean Kinney, Becky Nauman, and the gang, whom I miss very much, but I just still need to be me and be independent. At any rate, I think the commercial involvement kind of thing at the local level, if it happens in a good way, in a classy way, and let me tell you about a classy way, and this is something we've done at the Rocky Mountain. If you're a breakfast sponsor, if you're a speaker sponsor or whatever, we give the gang 5 minutes to come up and talk, right? Come up and say something. And some people are good. They don't want it. They just want to be recognized. They don't need to talk. And other folks want to come up and, throw up a couple of PowerPoint slides or whatever, talk about something new they've got going on. We give them that space, right? And everybody's respectful, and it's very cool. I love that, right? I love it. Hey, we're here to do education, but hey, we're gonna have some little 5-minute breaks, and you guys can kind of do your commercials or whatever you want to do. It's freaking great. We've handled that really well. Hats off to the Rocky Mountain for handling that really well. So I just, I love every part of it, right? So let's talk about Mo Robinson for just a minute. Oh man, she just killed it. She killed it. And when I say killed it, I gotta say that I think she gave one of the best. I'm not just saying this because this is, yeah, she's a friend and stuff, like I don't mind saying it, but I think with people that I really, that I really like and I care about and stuff, I'm pretty brutally honest with them, and so, but that brutal honesty can go the other way, right? You know, it can be terrific honesty. And Miranda, she gave potentially one of the best talks that I've ever heard at any Turfgrass conference ever. Turf talk, non-turf talk, whatever. I swear to God, her presentation on her presentation on the on the mindfulness stuff, right, was so good. You know, talking about anxiety, telling her story, and then like bringing people into it all. And oh man, she even had the group doing breathing exercises. No kidding, right? Like, can you imagine a bunch of turf heads like, here, breathe in, for the count of 4, breathe out. I mean, I do it. I love it. There was the mention of yoga during their panel discussion, not from Miranda, but from Joe McCleary, which I didn't expect. And it was funny because I was talking to an older superintendent and he was kind of laughing. And he says, Wilber, did you ever think, that we'd have like breathing exercises at a Turfgrass conference? And he said, is the world getting soft or am I just too edgy? Pardon me. And I said, well, I don't think you're getting soft, and the world has its edge, or you have your edge, I should say, and I don't think the world is soft. But I think we have to talk about this stuff. We gotta talk about this stuff. We can't not talk about it, guys. We can't. We just can't say, we can't ignore the fact that, that people in the world right now are just not, some of them not doing great. Some of them not doing great. I don't know. Some of them not. It's funny. People are sending me direct messages because they don't want to chat and thing. So I don't, I'm okay, whatever, okay, we're gonna do some breathing exercises. We're gonna teach you guys how to live in the moment a little bit more. We've been talking about this for a long time. Paul McCormack and his mindful superintendent thing. I've been talking about mental health. We're not gonna get away from this, guys. We're not gonna stop with that. Business needs to change. Our world needs to change. And I'm okay with being part of that change. Yes, I love, oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention Matteo Serena. We'll get to that in just a second. Let me get, I love a great Turfgrass talk. It was a good time to mention Matteo. Dr. Matteo Serena, now at UC Riverside, who's at Mexico State University. And I'm telling you what, he gave one of the best talks I've ever seen on surfactants. It was so good. Like, again, I wish I had this stuff recorded. I don't know what we were thinking. Maybe we've got to figure out how to, we live in the digital age, don't we? We should have been recording all of that. Right, so we've got these powerful Turfgrass speakers. We've got a powerful business speaker in Tyler Bloom, and I'm going to get back to Tyler in just a second. And we've got, the powerful, mental health, personal development person in Miranda. And I'm telling you, it's like, God, this is good. And this is, these are the day and a half that I want to sit and spend time with. I felt fortunate to have the front row seat. Matteo Serena, Dr. Serena, who is Italian by birth and has this great accent. He's got the great accent. It's talking about the surfactants. I thought that's so good, right? And he's just killing it with his data and his information and his presentation and his science. And I freaking love it, man. And it makes me realize the number of turf conferences that I've been to. And by the way, we had 1 weak speaker, but that's okay. It was not necessarily a golf person, and but they still were good. I mean, it's just you're hitting balls next to Jack Nicklaus, you're gonna look like a hacker, no matter what. There were some real powerful people there who know how to give a talk, and I'm thinking about the number of turf conferences that I've been at, either as an attendee or whether I've been speaking or whatever, where there's just some people that just shouldn't be there. And I'm going to be honest right now. Here's an honest moment. Look you in the eye. I have been that person that shouldn't have been there. Early on in my consulting thing, I got invited to speak, and I just wasn't quite ready to pull it together. Now, let me qualify that with something. Okay? Let me qualify that with something. Here's one of those back in the day stories. Back in the day, it was slides, right? It was like a tray of slides, and that stuff wasn't easy. And if you wanted to have a graphic or something, you had to find somebody to produce the graphic and then get it made onto a slide. It was very expensive. I remember getting it was 10 or 12 graphic slides done, with some, just basic graphics. And I think they were like $30 a piece. I'm sure it cost me $400 plus, to do 10 or 12 slides, right? To get somebody to do it, to get it into this, it's hard. And it took so you couldn't just change your talk the night before, right? PowerPoint comes along, and I was, right on the bandwagon with that. But, it was like, it took a lot of computer power. And then I remember speaking at a conference somewhere, and I had to go and rent a projector because nobody had access to one. The club or whatever they were having this event at, didn't know what an LCD projector was. And the LCD projectors sucked, right? You had to have a dark room. You couldn't have that usual country club room with the nice big windows, right? No. You needed a dark room, or, pictures and slides. And then the pictures are low resolution, right? So they're not going to be, we are so far ahead right now in presentation stuff. So I had to struggle through all that. But then, I would do things like, to myself, like, I remember driving nearly all night one night to speak at a conference the next morning. And I don't know exactly how I got myself in that position, but I think I was speaking in McCall, Idaho, Sun Valley, Idaho. And, I'd been slated for it wasn't like it was a big surprise, but somehow, I don't know what ended up happening, but it's a tough place to get to anyway. You're not going to fly there. And so I decided I was going to drive on this kind of Western US thing. And I ended up really mistiming the whole thing. And I drove, this kind of 12-hour drive or whatever, and rolled into Idaho late, and I was exhausted, and I got up the next morning and I didn't feel good, and I had to, I'd eat something bad, and just everything was going wrong, And I probably shouldn't have been there. And I'm sure the people sitting in the audience were like, who's this guy? And that was before I had conquered my stage fright and my nerves. And so the anxiety of all that would get me. I still get the anxiety. I just have tools to deal with it, right? Know how to deal with it. So I would do these speaking gigs, and I would try to tie all this travel to it. Travel doesn't always go well, and that's why we're super sensitive about, when we plan these things. And now I'm super sensitive when I get invited, like, can I really pull this off? And do they have the budget to bring me in a day early, because airlines are a disaster, and, things like that, right? And I had to say no to a speaking thing recently, a couple of them actually, because of the travel situation. For me being a little bit more at risk COVID wise and just overall health wise. So that's such a tangled web, right? Anyway, The Rocky Mountain Superintendents Association put on a great conference. We had great speakers. We had a great time together. Everybody was happy. And I'm like, damn it, this is why I'm in our business. Right here. This. I remember how joyful it was just to get together and with turf heads and talk with turf heads. And a few of us went out to dinner. Kevin Hicks took us, was nice enough from Earthworks, was nice enough to take a few of us out to dinner, just a small group. And we friggin' just had the best time, just talking turf head stuff, Tyler Bloom was sitting across from me, and we're just kind of sharing stories and asking each other questions. So much fun. There's so much good interaction that happens face to face. So I like all that. Okay. I've got a list of questions that people have kind of DM'd me, or little things they've asked me about. And I want to transition from that. So the education thing was good. All right, so let's talk about a few things. First of all, gadget-wise, somebody asked me what's been good on the gadget scene. So I want to talk about these. Can you see these? Wireless headphones, right? Wireless headphones. I have been down the road with the wireless headphone thing lately. Well, not lately, over the last few years, actually. I had some nice Boses. I also have wireless earbuds, which I really love. I'm currently using Dowtronics, TAO, Dowtronics earbuds. I have some Bose earbuds. The Dowtronics are, a quarter of the cost, and they're better. Anyway, let's go back to these. I've had some Bose noise canceling headphones. I've had, some stuff. These are made by a company called Skull Candy, which Skull Candy had some of the first, really good earbuds, right? In a bunch of different colors and stuff. But now they're doing some wireless technology. I'm really excited to adventure into their world a little. So I don't necessarily need or want active noise canceling in my world. I don't like my hearing doesn't like the hiss that comes from that, if that makes sense. Even on the airplane, it's, even Bose can't quite get the active noise canceling. It's Sony. I've had some of that higher end stuff, and it just, for me, there's a frequency there that just doesn't quite work. For some people, I know they love them, and that's great. So what I seek noise canceling headphones that just have really good ear pads. And but here's the rub, man. Here's the thing about these Skull Candies, and you can see it right here. Maybe, I don't know if yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's a little slider right here. There's a little slider right here, and that slider is for bass response. And there's a second set of drivers. It's almost like a vibrational driver inside this thing to create a little bit of bass. Now, I have these on right now, right? These are Sony studio monitors. These are expensive. These are the expensive studios. So these are the true, what you're going to see in higher end recording studios, because they sound true, right? It's a true sound. It's not, it's not bassy. It is what it is. It's what's coming out of my equipment, and I need that, right? If I'm doing audio work, if I'm doing this podcast, whatever, I need that. But for general listening, I actually want to hear a little bit of thump, right? I want a little extra. And the Skull Candy things give a little extra. You've got this little extra slider here. It's freaking awesome, man. And then the things, they fold up nice, and, they do what lots of people's headphones do, right? They fold up this way. And that's cool. But I'm a huge fan of these. And let me tell you something. These are 1/3 the price of the Sonys and the Boses. And they're way better. The build construction is amazing. I'm not going to break these in my travels. These are going to go in the briefcase, and I'm not going to worry about them or my backpack. So yeah, Skull Candy. Skull Candy has a line of headphones. I'm trying to, what do they call these? I don't know. Call them good. Where's my browser? Skull Candy. I mean, you gotta love Gotta love the company name. They're crushers, Skull Candy Crushers. These are the Crusher Evos. Skull Candy Crusher Evos, $139 at Best Buy. And the closest Sony, and they make an active noise canceling version of this, right? It's a little bit more money. But they make a Crusher ANC, you know, that has the noise canceling. So that's cool. That's fine. I don't need it. Wow, they come in camo and there's lots of Skull Candy's always had really good colors and stuff, right? So, you know, that's always been one of their things. But I just like black. I'm good with just black headphones. Anyway, Skull Candy Crushers, and these are the Crusher Evos, and they make an active noise canceling one. I don't do that, and that's probably just because of my ADHD or something in my brain. Really rejects the whole active noise canceling deal. I've tried all of them. I really have. Because I wanted to be on the airplane and not hear airplane noise, and then all it did was just replace the airplane noise with another kind of noise, and that didn't work for me. And I don't work in a crowded, busy office where I don't need to hear, you know, it's like nobody's here. The bear doesn't talk. The bear doesn't talk. So there's that. Okay, so yeah, electronic gadget wise, yeah, I'm digging the Skull Candy wireless, and these are Bluetooth, obviously, and so that's good, but you can put a wire to them if you want to. Comes with that. Not being paid for Skull Candy. There is no money coming to me from Skull Candy. All right, so that's what else gadget wise? I don't know. I love gadgets. I don't think anything's really been floating my boat lately. Wait. This is what I was going to talk about. So I've wanted a smartwatch, and I had an early Apple Watch. This is not an Apple Watch. I had an early Apple Watch, and I don't know, the damn thing had to be charged all the time, and I don't know, like I didn't dig on it, right? So, you know, I get an email from Amazon because, you know, it's like Amazon needs more of my money, right? Because they're going so broke. You know, here, Dave, you know, please give Mr. Bezos needs more of Dave Wilber's money. So I get an email from Amazon, some sort of promotion for the Amazon Fit, you know, wristwatch, right? And a smartwatch. And actually this thing, and I changed the band on it. It came with a dorky leather band. So, you know, that was cheap, right? Watch band, easy. This thing has turned out to be really good. It needs to be charged about once every 4 days, and it charges in an hour, right? So that's super cool. And it has all the stuff, all the watch faces, and you know, it has all the things that smartwatches are supposed to do, you know, alarms and I love it, right? It's just turned out to be a good thing. And I'm also one of these people that doesn't like, I don't really like things on my hands and wrists. You know, I do not wear rings and things like that, right? I don't wear rings because I saw the aftermath of somebody having a finger pulled off, you know, by getting a ring caught. So let's just put it that way. So yeah, I don't do rings, and I really don't like stuff on my hands, and the wristwatch thing, you know, off and on. Like I love watches, you know, I love the machinery of a watch, but like, you know, it's a machine, right? It's a small machine and it works. But so anyway, this is the Amazon Fit. I don't know which version this is, but it's the round one. They have square ones and round ones, and the round one is cool. So that's a pretty good gadget. What have I done for my computer setups recently was another question. I still run Mac and PC. I have both. Right now, you're seeing everything being produced on a PC because that world is a little bit more adept in the streaming world. And I have my audio production suite over here, which is Mac oriented. So I'm splitting my time between those two. I built the PC that I'm currently running on a couple of years back, and it's starting to, you know, it's tech-wise, it needs a little oomph. And graphics cards are so expensive right now that I can't really, like, I'm just like, I don't want to spend the money for that. Thank you, Bitcoin miners, for ruining the graphics card world. And, and of course NVIDIA, and the actual builders, just that's ridiculous, right? I'm not gonna spend $2,000 to get a hot new graphics card. So we're gonna figure that out. I like what AMD is offering versus NVIDIA, but the AMD drivers and stuff are a mess, and it's not working for people, so that's not good. Along those same lines, okay, so what video games are you playing, Dave? Well, I haven't been streaming for a while, and we're going to pick that back up here as the winter comes on. What have I been, well, just recently, the new Call of Duty Vanguard came out, and I have got an hour into that maybe. And so far I love it, just playing the campaign and stuff. So, the Call of Duty franchise has been something I've played since, it first came out. And I understand a lot of people are like, oh man, COD, but it's working for me. And I just like it. I'm good with what those guys do. I haven't played any World of Warcraft for a long time because I'm just kind of done with Blizzard Entertainment as it comes to how they're handling of World of Warcraft. So some people told me that I needed to play Final Fantasy 14, which is the multiplayer Final Fantasy thing, and it's turned out to be really good. And I wish I had more time to invest in it. But I found a really good, kind of group of people that play and help each other, and there's good community. I think the Final Fantasy 14 community, if that's what you're looking for, is pretty amazing. So that's good. I do play a little bit of Escape from Tarkov. It is the hardest video game that I've ever played. It is beyond hard, and I love it, but I have to be in the mood to get slaughtered continuously, and there's so many good Tarkov players, and I am just not one. That is a perishable skill, Tarkov. But I love it. It's the Russian-made game, and Nikita Baranov and those guys are just, the game developers are Russians, and they're just really good at what they're doing right now. It's been good. So Tarkov is great. And then I really like space games because I just like space. I grew up as a kid watching Star Trek, and then Star Wars. Star Trek was first, and I love space stuff. I've always loved space stories and all that. So there's two great space games for me right now. Star Citizen, all right, which is it's the game that has been in alpha for 12 years or whatever, right? Started by Chris Roberts, Cloud Gaming Imperium, which is a British company, and they and its CGI is a good, but the thing is kind of buggy and kind of squirrely, but it is beautiful, right? It's insanely beautiful. And the flight models for the ships and stuff, it's very ship oriented, is really cool. And there's so much good about Star Citizen, and they keep improving it. And there's another big update coming out, and I love it, right? And then I play another game called Elite Dangerous, and Elite Dangerous is it's got depths upon depths and really great ships, and you kind of are your ship in Elite Dangerous. Although the new thing, like you can get out of the ships and run around and do some stuff, but it's real ship sim oriented, which is fine. But the exploration part of Elite Dangerous, because they've modeled it after the actual Milky Way, right? And so exploration is a really big thing, and often you will find planets and moons and stars and stuff that no other player has ever seen. True story. First discoveries are a really big deal there, and I think it's 0.04% of the available galaxy has actually been discovered by players. That's insane. It is so big, so huge, and I love that. So that's what I'm playing. That's what I'm doing, and I don't have enough time. I really don't have enough time, and I don't know what I'm gonna stream. I was streaming Elite Dangerous. I tried to stream Tarkov, but I had to focus so hard on the actual gameplay of Tarkov. It was kind of impossible to, it was kind of impossible to, to host a stream, so I don't know what I'm going to do there. We may go back to streaming Star Citizen a little bit. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons online. I don't play Magic the Gathering online. Somebody asked me about that. It's like, I know Magic is real. I have played Magic tabletop in person, right? But I've never really played with it much online. And that's a whole other world that I just I don't have time to be good. So that's gaming. I love gaming. I'm always going to be a gamer. Okay, so there's been a lot of questions about, because I posted some stuff on Twitter and whatever, and it's like, well, what is this bus driver thing, right? And I've talked about this a little bit, but a couple hours a day, a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the afternoon, I drive a school bus for a local school district. The school bus yard is literally 5 minutes away from my house. I have a commercial driver's license. I just had to get a little bit of, I had to go take the test for the actual, passenger thing. And I have a class A commercial license, and that's another story. So, which means semi truck and trailer and stuff. And, so I have all the endorsements, but I never had a school bus or a passenger endorsement. I never needed that. So I went and got that handled and got that done. And they're so badly short of bus drivers here. It's sad, actually. Bus drivers and paraprofessionals. And we're going to get back to the school thing here in a minute, because I want to talk about that. I don't necessarily want to talk about driving. Because, there's really nothing sexy about driving a school bus. I mean, it's, the kids are funny. And I started out kind of, driving relief, doing whatever, but now I have this, I have like an actual route, right? Which I like better. I think it's just better for my schedule. So I go in at, 6 o'clock or whatever, and get the bus warmed up and stuff. I guess it's just so funny. And it's so funny because I think there's 75 drivers in Littleton Public Schools, which is where I work, and none of them really know or understand, that I have this other life and other world, right? So I just kind of show up. I laugh, I make jokes. There's a bunch of guys named Dave there that work there, and so they said, well, you got to have a nickname, so they call me Bear, right? Geez, I don't know why, right? So I'm Bear, or Mr. Bear. Kids call me Mr. Bear. And I roll in the early morning, and it's very golf course like, and sort of check out the equipment, and then roll, and I pick up like 20 elementary students, and at 4 or 5 stops, and take them to their school, and then I have a little bit of a break, and then I pick up about 50 middle school students. Now that's the thing, man. You want to learn about life? Put 50 middle schoolers on a bus behind you and see what goes on. 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, right? And the neighborhood that I pick up from is like, kind of a tougher neighborhood. This area doesn't have tough neighborhoods, but if it's maybe tougher, and then I take them to the middle school that sits like right on the border between like Columbine Country Club and nice area, and kind of tougher area. So it's an interesting place, right? And it took a little bit to get established with the kids and to establish myself. And it's like, and I don't really care about school rules and stuff so much. And so like, it's not unusual for me to say, hey, don't give me any shit, right? Like, I'm just real with them. And I cut them some slack when they're being stupid and say, hey, you're making some bad choices right now, and stop it. That's enough, right? So I go do that in the morning, and then, I have the rest of the day to do Wilber Surf stuff and Turfgrass Zealot stuff. And then in the late afternoon, I go back and I do the same thing. I go pick up the elementary kids and take them home, and 4 or 5 stops, and then I pick up the middle schoolers and I take them home 4 or 5 stops, and then if they need me to, I drive like an activity run, right? And they've sent me on some field trips. I've done some band trips and some sports trips, football things, stuff like that. There's a lot of drivers that really like doing that. I don't really care about it too much. I did take I did take 65 elementary school kids to an indoor beach volleyball day or whatever. I don't know what that was all about. But you really haven't lived until you've seen 65 kids get turned loose on a indoor beach volleyball scene and watch them just go into full-on sand fight mode, mutant ninja sand fighters. Crazy, right? So I do that. And why do I do that? Okay. I mean, it's a really good question. Tyler Bloom was asking me, he's like, what's up with it? Why? Like, okay, I'm not traveling like I used to, right? So I'm pretty much home. And I can't lock myself in the office all the time. I've got to get out. So that's a really good thing, right? Physically, it's kind of good for me, obviously. I'm getting between 5,000 and 8,000 steps in a day, by doing all that. Not a bad thing, right? Some social interaction doesn't hurt me, even in my introvert self. And then, to be quite honest, this whole thing started with me trying to figure out my health insurance, because health insurance is so freaking messed up right now in our country. And when I turned 55, my health insurance that I'd been paying for, just out of my pocket, like it tripled in price, tripled. And I was already paying a bunch, and it wasn't covering much. And it just, was like, it wasn't a great plan, right? I don't think it was even an Obamacare thing. I don't know, whatever. And I just didn't have a very good health insurance plan. And so, the school district has a great one. And if I work 20 hours a week over there, I qualify for their health insurance benefits. So, this is the world we live in. Speaking of which, we talked a lot about labor and stuff at the conference. And of course, Tyler Bloom talked about staffing and labor and all that. And, I really want you all to think and to be leaders at your clubs. If you want to see some change as far as how you're going to deal with, hey, McDonald's is paying $17 an hour, what about us? Offer people that work more than 20 or 25 hours medical benefits and, essentially full-time benefits, and see how that goes. I can tell you, I'm actually kind of one of the youngest people at Littleton Public Schools bus driving scene. There's a few people younger than you, not much. There's a lot of older people in there in the same boat. That gap, between 55 and 65, and even over 65, depending on how you handle Medicare and what you can do, it's really tough. So a ton of them are over there because they want to have health insurance. That's it. That's what they're doing, And it kind of works, right? So Marcy Phelps, the director of transportation over there, who's really just this really, really good person, who's been in transportation, 15, 16 years as a bus driver herself. And she's got a great staff. Two of the supervisors are like 30, right? And they got all these older people. And it's a diverse bunch of people. You've got people that are retired, that aren't teaching school or aren't being paraprofessionals anymore. You've got people that come from business. One guy was a huge manager for one of the grocery store chains, right? He had a big buyer's job kind of thing, manager of buying. And he rolls in, he takes his kid to school, he rolls out, he's a good guy. And he's just kind of semi-retired. There's a guy who's a pastor, who's in the same boat as I am. He needs some health insurance, and his church isn't big enough to do that in a good way. So he figured it out. He also roofs. He's a roofer. He does all kinds of stuff, right? So it's a great group of people. There's been this really neat group of people. There's two musicians. The two younger ones are musicians, right? So, and again, they're trying to cover their health insurance benefit. So, I go do this thing. And I guess I didn't really realize that part of it is, I am actually making a difference and making an impact on some young people. And I've had to have some gnarly talks with some young people. I had a 10-year-old kid full on cussing out another 10-year-old kid. I thought they were gonna fight, and he's just like, he used every version of the F word that I've ever used, and we had to have a talk. And I've got some at-risk kids on my middle school route who if they do it wrong, could potentially be looking at juvenile hall versus, public school, right? And it was easy to spot. So I am in the middle of that for a few hours a day. And here's the thing that I didn't expect. I'm actually making a difference in my community. And I'm getting a reputation, Mr. Bear, right? Like the kids know now not to mess with Mr. Bear because I just don't put up with their shit. I'm not playing their game. And at the same time, if they give me respect, I give it right back. So we're good. I don't know. This is a weird time in my life, and this is what I'm doing right now. I don't know how long that lasts. I don't know what, I know Littleton Public Schools is glad to have me. I know from a driving standpoint, from an actual equipment standpoint, we're all pretty well trained in our business, aren't we? We know how to, we know what an engine is and how to check the oil and what a low tire looks like. And I mean, we're good, right? This is what we do. And, so the mechanics and all those guys in the shop, I mean, what do they have? 7 mechanics there? They're really good people, but they're mechanics, they're grumpy, surly, what'd you do? What'd you break? All that sort of stuff. I know how to speak that language. Just kind of give it right back to them. So it works, right? And they're funny. And so then, but like, come on, you guys, the story. So like, I buy these guys donuts. I bought them all some coffee cups. And they're like, so now the mechanics like, right? So if there is some little thing with my bus or whatever, they jump right on it. They're just cool about it. And, the emissions regulations for diesels, I mean, they're super sensitive about that, right? They don't want to, the last thing they want to do is put a bus out on the road, obviously, that is unsafe and that is also, smoking out the world, right? So, that can go on. And what's more precious cargo than kids? So from an actual bus driving standpoint, like you throw a quarter on the ground, I'll put the duals on it. I'm good. I'm good with that bus in the city, in the, in the downtown areas. It's, that part is fun, actually. It's kind of a riot, right? And they're all automatic transmissions, so from a lot of standpoint, but you can mess up a whole bunch of stuff with a 45-foot school bus. Let me tell you, I've seen a couple of minor accidents already, and it's like, nothing happens to the bus and the car is destroyed kind of deal. Both of them not those drivers' faults, but people seem to be attracted to bumping into yellow things. Anyway, that's part of what I'm doing. And it's not I'm not changing careers or anything like that. I'm just handling my health insurance and serving my community. And I'm not going to be on the school board or, whatever, the sanitation board. My dad was on the sanitation board forever, right? It was weird. Like, what is the sanitation board, Dad? And we do water and wastewater. And he was really into it. He really liked it. Right? So, like he would run for election. And they wanted to be on the city council, and he wouldn't. He's like, no, I'm just going to do sanitation board. Same thing with my mom. They wanted her to be a county commissioner, and she didn't do that. So, I'm not going to run for office. I'm not going to be on the school board, but I wanted to be involved with our schools. And I see some stuff, man, and there's some really, really hardworking people. And by the way, school paraprofessionals, man. So with all of the special needs kids that, that ride a bus, there's a paraprofessional on those buses. I hate to say it, but the short buses and stuff. And those people are just angels, man. They take care of these kids. They love on these kids. They get them to school. They get them home. It's hard. It takes a special human to be involved with that. And I'm pretty impressed. And I've met a lot of the paraprofessionals and teachers at the different schools, and obviously the principals. And, it's a challenging time. And COVID's got a lot of these kids really messed up. And those of you that have kids, I'm sure you have your stories, the kids need to mask up. They need to, they need to do all this, right? They got to do it. And we treat them with as much dignity as we can around all that. But at the same time, and I tell them, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to put my health at risk or the health of other people at risk because you don't feel like wearing a mask. Just put the mask on and just get it done. And that's it. That's what we do. Right? So I don't know. Politics aside, I want them to be safe. Right? I want them to feel safe and all that stuff. And, it's funny because, you got kindergartners and first graders and stuff, they've never been in a vehicle without a seatbelt on and stuff. We don't, the school bus system doesn't necessarily include seatbelts unless you're a special needs kid. So they're concerned about that. And the parents are concerned about it. And I see the look on the parents' face. We had a situation one day near the elementary school that I pick up at where there was a police thing going on down the road, not far from the school. And they decided to lock down the school, and the parents all had to kind of come and pick up the kids when it was time. There was nothing going on anywhere near the school. This was a couple of miles away. But it did include some of the places where some of the kids at that school live, right? Some of my kids. And man, there was just so much concern on the looks, on those parents' faces. I'll never forget that scene. They're all showing up in the parking lot. We're there because they've got us stopped, and these parents just look like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's a weird time in our world, and so I'm trying to make a positive impact. They asked me at the middle school if I had time to maybe be, what do they call it? A lunch. They didn't call it lunch monitor. What was it? I don't know, but it's just basically like, can you hang out at lunch and keep them from fighting? Like, no, the middle of my day is for other things. So I give Littleton Public Schools, 4 hours a day of my time, and I'm proud to do. So there it is. That's the story. That's what's going on with me. Anybody got anything in chat? Anything you want to say? I see we got a bunch of viewers today, and I love that. I also see that we're getting a bunch of playbacks, which means that people, are listening, but they're not completely in real time. Our concurrent viewership on this podcast is never, is never huge. Well, if I'm looking at my watch, it looks like it's about time. This is my hour. So if there's nothing in chat, I think we're going to kind of wrap it up. What's the Turfgrass word of the day? What's the Turfgrass word of the day? Great question. The Turfgrass word of the day for me, and the Turfgrass word of this is planning. And whether you're in the cool season or the warm season thing, this is your planning time. Whatever you're going to do right now in a planning situation for the coming summer, the better you do it right now, the better your next season is going to be. Plan. Think. I hate this think outside the box thing, but think outside the box. Figure out other ways to get great things done. You can do that. This is the time. And for those of you that are in the southern states and the Southwest and stuff, it's like it's busy, but the days are short. So that's the other side of that, right? Daylight savings time happens tomorrow. If you're happen to watch this and you're in the States, how does that work in the UK? I don't know if they do that. But anyway, we do it here because it's, I don't know, silly. I think it's silly, but I don't know. I may experience that a little bit differently because maybe I won't. I don't know. I don't know how that works with the kids, because like right now I pick up elementary school kids in kind of the, semi-darkness. So they won't be in that anymore, will they? But they'll go home in the dark. Some of them. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, hey, that's it, man. That's it for me. I'm Dave Wilber. This is the Turfgrass Zealot Project. It's November the 6th, 2021. And it's been my joy and my pleasure to put all this together. And again, you're welcome to DM me questions. Follow me on Twitter at Turfgrass Zealot. And that's the best way to find me, get a hold of me, and see what I'm doing. Twitter continues to be my primary source of putting stuff out there. I do a few things on Instagram, but not as much. And yeah, that's it, man. That's what I know. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. And I think with all of this that I've been talking about, right? All of these changes. What's really been cool is to watch turf heads figure it all out. And they figure it all out. Every time. Every time. I'm Dave Wilber. This is the Turfgrass Zealot Project. And my word of the day is compensation. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great word. Compensation. You know what? Just to touch on that real quick, because I'm actually going to do a podcast around the whole compensation thing. So, what I can tell you is that everybody's talking about the changes that need to be made in our world for our staffs, for ourselves, for our assistants, for our technical people, and some change is going to come, man. Some change is going to come. We're going to have to lead it, and we're going to have to do it, but some change is going to come for sure. So I'll leave that at that, because I want to leave that topic for the time it needs to be. So, all right. With that, I'm Dave Wilber. Thanks. Have a great day.